Good evening, YouTube. We are here. Here we are. Here we are. I don't need to make myself wobble. I have my tray with my mouse on it. I decided to open chat today. Like people, so let me know in the chat box whether you like having chat on or not, or in the comments box below. Because some people say when you're on your iPhone, you can't turn chat off. And that's very annoying. Like, so it's always like going over the screen. And then some people say they get really distracted by it. So a lot of people, like most people I've ever spoken to, have always told me to turn it off. So let me know what you like, if you like it on or not, because I don't care. I don't get to see it. I don't care. I don't care. Okay, just move you back slightly. So while we're just waiting for people to join, that's why I always like put the intro music on in the beginning, like while people join in the beginning, while all the technical issues get sorted out. Maybe you would like to see something. Maybe you would like to see somebody who is so adorable and who's found a little hidey-ho. So on my sofa over here, this is my work sofa, and I put lots of rugs over it so I can't destroy it because I'm a spiller. And then it has this electric thing where you can put the feet up. So you can see here that the feet are up to the sofa. And then, hello! Hello! Who's that? Goodbye. Hello! Hello! You like it under there, don't you? She tries to nip it. Boop! Hello! That's her little hidey-ho. Yes. And you say, where is Khaleesi? Why isn't she helping you with the talk? She's in her little hut underneath the feet. That's my work area. This is where I do my talks from, and when I'm doing sessions with people, I do it from here. Not always. I'm sometimes in different houses around the world. You don't know where I am. Where am I? I'm not going to tell you anymore because some things happened that I'm not going to tell you about. So anyway, yes. So we do the usual regular routine. We sit for 20 minutes and then we do the introduction, then we do questions and answers. So let me tell you how it works. So if you, so today the talk is how do you live in the present moment, I think. I've forgotten it already. How to live in the present moment. And I'll tell you why I put how to live in the present moment. The reason that I put that title on is because today I got recognized when I was out and about. And that very rarely happens. And they asked me, how do I live in the present moment? And so it stayed in my head. And I thought I would do a talk on it. So when I was out walking Khaleesi, actually, it was one of the dog walkers. It was really surprising. Or it wasn't I got recognized, but they'd seen my videos. Yes. Yeah. and I will talk about how we stay in the present moment or don't stay in the present moment and what freedom is. And did I say the thing about Skype? So if you want to call in, then you call me through Skype, which is Lisa Cairns 12. So you can find that information in the box below. And please either you can write the question or you can put call me and then I'll call you, but just put call me. Don't put anything else after call me. So I know that you want me to call you, because calls take preference most of the time. Okay. And so now we'll just do some silent sitting, and I have a big dong that I will dong in the background. It's just off screen here. It's like big and it's like yellow, and I have a big stick. You might not be able to see it, but that's just the C virus making it disappear. It's after you've taken the vaccine, it makes it disappear. That's the effects of it. So those that haven't taken the vaccine will be able to see the big dong thing that I've got. So I'm just going to ring my dong. So you ready? Sorry, it might have looked like that I was out of time there, or that I donged at the wrong time with my hand. But again, if you've taken the vaccine, that's just one of the side effects of it. You start seeing all sorts of strange things. Just ask somebody who's not vaccinated and they will tell you very clearly that I was donging at the right time and I had a big stick. Sorry, vaccinated. It's the way it is if you choose to go for the vaccine. You were told strange things may happen. Side effects may appear. They hadn't tested it for very long. Okay, my video is getting banned now. As soon as you start talking about these things, it gets banned, but oh well. We'll just go for it tonight as I've already started. Oh, did the gong. Sorry, we're going to be in silence now. Okay, meditation. Okay, the gong has gone off, so you can all wake up. Wake up! That's what the gong represents. So just to remind you, my Skype address is lisacairns12. So you can go there and you can send a friend request and you can ask questions there. Oh, pardon me. So, was jetzt? What was the talk about again? I know that we said this already at the beginning. I forgot. The talk was how to live in the moment. And remember to comment in the comment box or to do it in the top in the chat whether or not you like chat on or not. Because I don't know. And you might notice that my bit rate is very low on the stream tonight. But that's the way it is. My internet's not as good as it can be. That's what happens. But my audio should be very good. Okay. So, what are we going to do? We're going to talk about how to live in the present moment. So I think I've talked about this lots of times, like not how to live in the present moment, but the present moment. So when I first got into this subject, I was already kind of into it, but I wasn't into spirituality. So I was already kind of into philosophy and thinking in other ways, and I'd been to a therapist at quite a young age. Well, a counselor they were called, I think, at that time. And when I heard in Buddhism, like being in the present moment, I kind of knew what they meant and knew what they were talking about. I also, as a child, did acting like stage acting. And in order to do that really well, you had to kind of be really present. Like if I was thinking about it, I screwed up. So it's like you had to memorize it all on the bodily level. So all the words and the actions and everything, and then you had to be really present. So it's like you're not thinking, I've got to move there, I've got to do this. It's like you trust that your body has remembered everything, and you kind of switch off the thinking mind. You're not thinking about what people think or what you look like or what this person said or what they're going to do or anything like that. You're just really allowing flow to happen. And I think that's why I fell in love with theatre. I also fell in love with theatre because of the creativity and the storytelling. And it was like through theatre and TV, that was my access to it, because I couldn't read and write because of my dyslexia. And it was a way of like opening my mind. Yeah, and when I learned plays, so like when I was Alex in A Clockwork Orange. I don't know if you've ever seen this, when I was a teenager. And what I did was I learned every person's role. So I knew the whole script in and out and everybody's move, because I did it at my college, and some of the other people weren't so good at acting and forgot their lines and did things. And because I was like, had so much to say, if you've ever read the script, Alex from A Clockwork Orange, like there was so much, I had to learn everybody's role in order to let the whole thing flow. And it was happening so quickly. We did it in the square, so the audience were all around us. And when you're like the main character like this, and you've got so much happening, and we didn't have any props, so it was just, yeah, it was really beautiful the way my teacher did it. And so I just had to be completely in flow in doing that. Like no thinking at all. Like no questioning, what do I look like in this, or what don't I look like? It's like totally going for it. Like, and just letting my body act. And so when the Buddhists started saying that, like you've got to be in the moment, I had a reference point from it because I knew it from acting. Like I knew it that whenever I thought in acting, it screwed it up. And yeah, you can see why I felt, I also had like some really amazing drama teachers that like really thought outside of the box, which is normally the way it is, unless you get like the really like jazz hands and jazz hands. But I didn't really do musical theatre, although I liked musical theatre. And so like some really alternative plays, like Clockwork Orange is such a profound play if you ever read it. You know, like I was like a teenager and reading it and really coming to understand what he meant and what the writer was doing. Like this was way more profound than any class, like maths class or English class, where it's so dead. And you know, like when we would discuss these things, we would always be like physical and doing things. So like we would be talking about the motivations, well, like passing a ball round the circle. So it's like about being in the moment. So we would be having these discussions about what the motivation is, well, playing games at the same time. It wasn't like a dead class. And I had this one teacher called Dan at Henley College. This is for when I was 16 to 18. And he was just so outside of the box. Like he was really amazing. He's now a professional director. He went on and like did really well for himself. And like just broke down so many conventions of what theatre was and the impact and what it's about. And, you know, is it political or sociological or, you know, what is theatre for? Is it just about entertainment? And also the effect, you know, and what you can do. Like the Clockwork Orange, he directed it without any props, and it's like it's even better than doing it with props in a way in that instant, because like Clockwork Orange is written in such a poetic way. And like leaving it to people's imagination in a way is better than filling all the bits in. So we just had like this really bare white room. All of us were in like white overalls with a white t-shirt. None of us had makeup on. If you had long hair, you had it slicked back. I had very short hair, so and just like really simple. So everything, the audience were doing everything, but we were like trying to create the furniture in a way, but in like a really unique, imaginative way. And this, like when you're doing something like that, this is total flow. It's like doing sports. And it's so creative. I loved it. It was like the rest of school was so dead and vile and like, ugh, for a dyslexic. But for me, theatre and like learning all these playwrights, like a lot of playwrights are philosophers as well, and learning all these things, but learning them in a physical way, like practically acting it out and seeing the effect that it has in people. It's so exciting. Like this teacher, Dan Brazier, he was the most inspirational, and some of the other teachers at that college, most inspirational teachers that I ever had, even more so than at university. I went on to study at university as well. But he just made me think so much out of the box and always used imagination in every instant. So when the Buddhists said that, I knew what they were talking about. And it's like love. Like when I was acting, and that's why as a child I wanted to go on to be an actress, even though I soon learned that that wasn't what I wanted to do because I couldn't stand the auditions. Like I did like 2 years of auditions and then I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. I can't do that part of it. Like acting is so much about like networking and knowing people. But the very act of it to me was like love. So beautiful. And it's the same as playing music. It's like when you totally lose yourself in your art, that there is no you and what's being created. Yeah. Yeah, so it was really easy for me to get into Buddhism. Then when I got into Buddhism, in that particular Buddhist group, they said the two people that go to hell, the two jobs that go to hell, like mental hell, is being an actor and being a butcher. And so by that point, I was already and on my own volition giving up acting, because I couldn't stand the auditions. And then when I heard that, I was like, yeah, forget it. Because it's the acting world is not a nice world. I can see why the Buddha said that. And also being a butcher can't be nice mentally. So that was the first time I heard the concept, and it resonated straight away, and it like sent chills through my body. I was so in love with that. That's what I had been acting out for many years in theatre and in my own private world when I was being creative. Like I'd always had this thing for writing and creating stories. So that deeply touched me, and I then got more and more involved with Buddhism. And then I heard non-duality. I think the first non-duality teacher I heard was Eckhart Tolle or Ramesh Balsekar. I can't remember which one came first. Maybe Eckhart. It's kind of around the same time, but yeah, most probably Eckhart. And again, when Eckhart spoke about being in the present moment, I really knew what is being talked about. But that led me in a path more into non-duality. And when I heard non-duality speakers speaking, it was like you were doing a meditation with them. So it was like a live meditation of this. It was like an expression of this energetically. So even though the concepts are nice, like what I felt really was that my heart was vibrating with love when they spoke. And that was why I was drawn towards non-duality. I felt like the Buddhism was a bit dead in a way. I mean, it's really beautiful, but it was a bit dead. It wasn't alive anymore. There were like new ways this was being expressed in society. And like, I also think that the same effect could happen if you had like an artist or an actor that's totally in flow when they're performing. Then the same transfixion can happen, the same meditation or resonance. So then that happened. And then as I began to understand non-duality on a mental level more, I began to see that it was impossible to have somebody who was present, because who would be present? And that didn't conflict with my own experience, because when I was performing as a child, there wasn't anyone there. There wasn't a Lisa there. I wasn't concerned about what Lisa was or where she was going or who she was. I didn't know who Lisa was. There was simply flow happening. Like the body was acting. Like it was being done through me. And I could also see that there was no free will in that. Like the body was acting. So you could, some people might say, yeah, that's the long-term memory of the body. But even so, I could see that there was nobody acting in that moment. It was so fast. As if I got involved in any way, I screwed it up. So then the question comes, like, who is sitting here now? Who is listening to these words? Who wants to get something? Who wants to arrive somewhere? Who wants to be something? who has a conceptualization of me, of themselves. Like there is nothing both ways. There is nothing meeting nothing. So you might think that there is somebody sitting in the body, but that's a thought. There is just a looking happening. And then the thought says, but how do I stay in that just looking? Like, what do? I need to do something. Well, that's the way the person's always been programmed. Like, what do? I've got to do something. And it's okay for that person to put its attention in the present moment, knowing that it's not really it doing it, because that person doesn't have autonomy. That person is a happening. So there can be a putting attention in the present moment, but that is a practice. But it also feels really beautiful if you practice it. Unless there's lots of chaotic emotions going on and then you need to deal with the emotions. Like that can only happen when you're fairly balanced. When there's lots of chaotic emotions, it's like... So just now, like, just see what structure is coming up. Like, who are you now? And I have old structures coming up, old Lisa structures coming up. Like I'm in front of someone and then suddenly I go into the learned Lisa way of behaving. That's normal. In a way, like the personality structure in a way always has structures of how to deal with people. But there is also like a letting go of that, like a lack of attachment to it. Like it's like a cloth blowing in the breeze in this massive expanse, like a small cloth, like on the washing line. This old structure, and seeing that it's not true. So say if I have a certain personality come up that's like very harsh, maybe an old structure in me sees them as a teacher. And that's the way it is. But that's not who they are. Who they are is this no-thingness, is this joyful, expansive emptiness. And then in that there is like this wave appearing. Suddenly I have moments of being that 8-year-old back in the classroom being told off. You're stupid. You don't have dyslexia. You're just stupid and lazy. But there is nobody either way. It's empty. It's empty. It's empty. It's empty. It is empty. There is nobody. It's so free and vast. There is nobody. Okay, let's take some questions. Okay. So we have a question from Amy. And just put call me if you want to call in, and know that calls take preference. So call me. From Amy, question. The climate crisis is worsening at the precedented rate. Please could you speak about the roles of conscious activism from a relative and non-dual perspective? What are your thoughts on collective responsibility? Many thanks for your beautiful teaching so freely. Yeah, pleasure, Amy. Yeah, maybe we as humans kill ourselves and wipe ourselves out. I don't know about collective responsibility. I suspect that most people don't care enough, to be honest with you, Amy. Like, that's the difficulty in change. Like, say if you take coronavirus at the moment, I'm just going to blatantly speak about it, I've already done it. If you take coronavirus, everyone's just interested in the easy way out. Everyone's just shoving vaccines into teenagers because they think that will work. They think that that's the best way out. No, that's the easiest and the quickest way out of it. So I don't think that society has this capability to look at climate crisis responsibly, and I don't know if that will change. I'm not even sure it would change. What would change with, like, if everyone woke up, is that their seeking would reduce, so consumerism would reduce. And people might not feel the need to have so many children. You know, part of it is having children. Like, we're overpopulated. And that's a big part of it. And you know, how many people are not going to have children because of climate change, or reduce the amount of children because of climate change, especially in third world nations where they feel very insecure. So the more insecure you feel, the more children you tend to have. I don't know if that's true, but that's my projection onto the situation. I don't know humans have the capability to change in that way, to be honest with you. So like in my group of friends that are very open-minded, like all of them just want to get everybody vaccinated just so society can open up again. And I really get that. Like they've got kids and they're really fed up with the kids getting sent home. But I don't know in the long run if that's the best solution for society. I think that this is like a consumerism attitude towards the virus. I'm not criticizing anyone that's taken the vaccine. It's all your choice and your like how you feel, and that's like totally valid if you've taken it. But I feel like as a collective, as a society, like just stuffing vaccines into everyone isn't like the responsible, especially like ecologically responsible way forward, because that vaccine is going to go back into nature as soon as we pee. So it's going to fuck up, if it doesn't fuck up the human body. Oh my God, I swear I've done everything in this video. So it's going to fuck up nature. Like what's that when you pee it out? Like how's that going to affect nature? Like, and we're doing it on a mass scale. We've got 80 billion people that are taking it, which would have to continuously take it for years to come in order to deal with the coronavirus. And they're constantly peeing it out into the environment. So, and then just like ask yourself, like how many people listening, how many people would be prepared to not take the vaccine in order to find a more economical and sustainable way of dealing with the vaccine, with the coronavirus. I don't think many people would be prepared to do that, especially now with, like in France, like if you're not vaccinated, you can't from the 1st of August go into most public services unless you take a PCR test or a and that's just France. I don't know about other England, I think, is getting a similar way. So yeah, it's like a whole mentality that we have to change. Like just like a whole mentality that we have to change in order to be more in line with nature. I'm not inherently against vaccine. That's what I'm saying, because I can understand and I can perceive like how vaccines helped us, but it's also helped us to overpopulate the planet. So with us having that ability to not succumb to illnesses, we've then grown in population, and that wasn't our consideration. We didn't care. We were just like, nope, that's fine. Let's keep on populating, keep on having babies. And we didn't care that through these vaccines, which should be sacred, if we do something like that, if we choose to do something, it should be so sacred. We then just like got older, so we lived for double amount of the time, and we had loads of babies, and then we're now at like 8 billion people. So at least before we had the vaccines, like nature was naturally cutting our population. So because if any population overpopulates this planet, there's going to be great disbalance. But how many people, like listening, like for yourself, how many of you are willing not to have kids and not to vaccinate and to find a way out of this coronavirus in a more holistic way that will be slower, that might cost more money, that might mean that you have to isolate more or distance more from humanity, or it might mean that more people die that you know. I don't think even people in spirituality would be saying yes right now. And that's not a blame. Like that's like we're all one as this society. We're like an ant's nest. So it's not blaming anyone. It's not like, oh, if I don't take it, I'm better. If they do take it, it's better then. Because they can also see the advantages of taking a vaccine. So then, what do we do? It might be that technology saves us if anything is going to save us. It might be that technology destroys us, but if anything's going to save us, then maybe it's technology. Like maybe technology figures out a way how to balance this planet where it's like the scales are really like this, like there's too many humans. And the humans that are here, so there's too many of us, number one. And then number two, we consume too much. And we do crazy things like packaging our food in plastic. And growing our crops with pesticides and eating way too much meat. Like firstly, I'm not talking about the cruelty of the meat industry, but secondly, if we have, like, I think something like 2 billion or 3 billion cows on the planet that we're growing, and they're in the cycle of the meat industry. So you can understand that not only do we have the 8 billion humans, I think it's like 2 billion cows, or maybe it's like 2 billion animals that we have in the process of the meat industry. So that are being grown and they're being slaughtered like at a rapid rate. So that's 2 billion, but they're being slaughtered continuously. Like so many are being killed in every moment. But so say if we have 1 billion cows, I can look it up actually quickly what the statistics are. How many cows are currently It was like a site that I used to go to. Where it talked about how many animals. Industry statistics. No, here. Number of cattle in 2021 is 1 billion, I think that is. Yeah, I can't tell how many millions that is. Additional information. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So say if there's 1 billion animals in the meat industry now, and we've got 8 billion humans, then you've got to grow all the grain for those animals. So that is like a huge amount of resources. So not only do we have to grow our vegetables and our grain for ourselves, we then have to grow extra grain to give to the cows so they can get nice and fat, so then we can kill them. But how many people like listening now, how many people are prepared to give that up? To only eat meat once a week, at max, or twice a week at max. Like any animal products at max twice a week. Most people need it for breakfast, lunch and dinner. They don't know how to eat without it. So like our consumption is so big, and the animals that we're consuming is so big. So I don't think that any amount of protesting, any amount of talks on the internet or talks about this will fix it. I think that our only possibility is through technology, and technology finding a way from an unbiased point of view, so it has all the information and can, you know, decide how nature can be balanced as well as us. Yeah, so that's my perspective on it. I don't think that anything we really do is going to change it, because most people are more interested in just survival, which is fair enough, because there's some people in societies where their survival is so difficult. And there's only 5% of us that aren't in difficult survival situations. And we still don't do very much either. I think it's too hard for us to think about it. It's not that we're bad, it's just that it's too hard for us to think about in moment to moment. Thanks, Amy, for your question. So Nick, how did you find those statistics so quickly? 1 billion cows per year, not per year, but currently in the meat industry, 1 billion sheep, 25 billion chickens. Can you imagine how much grain and feed that is? Like, have you ever fed just one chicken? Like, that's insane. That's insane. I mean, that's a huge part of our, but the meat industry hide this, because you don't really think that a lot of our farming is about feeding the cows, the sheep and the chickens. So they, you know, they put something like 5% of our emissions is down to livestock, but that doesn't include all the grain that's being grown separately to feed them. Yeah, and then all the pesticides that are being used on top of that. Yeah, cattle are for 15% of global warming emissions, but are they including the grain which is grown for the cattle? That's what they're talking about, the farts of the cows when they say 15%, and the land in which the cows grow off, like, are on. But I don't, and the poo that they're producing, but I don't think they're talking about the grain in which is being produced for that. Because meat industries are massive, what's that word called? Like, for policies that are made by the government, their lobbies, like they pay huge amount of money to get the government to be pro meat industries and to hide statistics of how, like, so the statistics aren't obvious of how the meat industry works. And I think even in America, it is illegal to say something bad about the meat industry. Like, so there's a policy passed in America where you're not allowed to legally speak out about the meat industry. But that's really complex and I don't really understand it. So I'm kind of like spurting this stuff out, and it's like, it could be not quite right, but it's something along those lines. The meat industry is so powerful in our society. Like, don't believe the statistics that you read about it. They are heavily manipulated. But just imagine it. Like, imagine all the people that you know that eat meat, And then just imagine 8 billion people consuming that amount of meat. Hi, Sylvian, I hope that's right for your name. Hi Lisa. 1, are you vegetarian and how old did this happen? Number 2, I still have concerns about how to gain money. Does this mean that living without any concerns means also that you don't have to worry how or what to do for a living? Thanks, Lisa. Society and like the way in which the networks of our society work and the way that you get money is by producing something. So it's like energy. You produce something in which other people want. And if you don't produce something in which other people want, then you won't be able to trade. So not doing that means that you won't have the ability to trade. You might be lucky enough to live in a society where you can live on benefits, but that's the way it is. Just like a squirrel has to collect its nuts, the humans survive by having something in which they can trade with other humans. So they have a quality, they have a skill in which other people can buy or trade. So that's the way it works. So if you don't invest in that, the thing is there can be lots of limitations in your mind. So you might have a limitation that says, I have to work really hard in order to have something or in order to earn money. And these limitations aren't true. I have to study 10 years at university in order to gain loads of money. Gaining loads of money is wrong or immoral. All these limitations that we have on money. And then predominantly underneath all these ideas, it might be that I'm not good enough to receive money. And money is just basically the ability to trade. That's all it is. I trade my non-duality sessions for digital money that appears in my bank account. But it could, 100 years ago, it could be that I traded for food. Like that's what it was in India. Like the Buddhists, they taught, but they never asked for money for their teaching, but then they walked around the streets and they had a bowl, and then the locals are expected to fill up the bowl for food. We don't have that in this society now. And are you a vegetarian, and how did this happen? I attempt to be a vegan, but I don't always quite make that. So I eat eggs sometimes, and sometimes I eat cheese. But predominantly when I buy my food and I eat from home, I'm predominantly a vegan. That's my goal. That's what I aspire to. But it doesn't always happen. And I started this when I was about 8 years old, when there were some cows living behind us, and every day we would go there and feed the cows, and then they went off for slaughter. And then my dad told me in detail what happened to them. He told me the truth. His family were a farming family, and so he knew. And I was horrified. I didn't really realize that that's what I was eating. And it didn't happen all at once. It kind of happened slowly. Like my parents would put meat in front of me, and then I'd be like, I can't eat that. So that's how it happened. Danke for your question. Hey, Izzy. Hey, Lisa. I could totally see the beautiful yellow gong at the start of the meditation. Hello. Hope it can stay that way. It's funny that a huge study this summer regarding the link between a plant-based diet and 70% reduction in the severity of COVID has largely been ignored by the media. Oh, so beautiful. Yeah, the meat industry. My God. Science focus. It's just ignored all these things. Also, Wim Hof, like I told you about me doing the Wim Hof breathing, and I haven't been experiencing, I have been experiencing a tiny amount of hay fever, but this year I didn't have to medicate for hay fever at all. I really try my best not to take medication for hay fever, but if you've ever had hay fever really bad, it becomes to the point where you can't move. You're just like convulsing, and so I'd take an antihistamine. And this year I didn't take any antihistamines. My face didn't swell up, nothing. Like sometimes my whole face swells up, my eyes glued together, nothing. There was occasionally a few little snivels. But isn't that amazing? So, I mean, like, who knows? Like, I might get COVID and it might knock me over. But my gut feeling is that my body can handle it, and that I will be okay, and that I'm not hurting other people by not taking the vaccine. That's my feeling. I feel like maybe it's the other way around. Maybe if I take the vaccine, I will be hurting other people. Like, and I don't have science to back that up, but I don't feel that the vaccine is for a sustainable future. I feel it's against it. I feel like it's the lazy way out of the problem. It's like the greed way out of the problem. I'm sorry for all of those that have been vaccinated. I really love you and I respect your opinion, and you are totally valid to it. And I have been called selfish. I've been told that I don't love my mother enough to take the vaccine. I have been told that I'm killing people. That I'm selfish, stupid, simple-minded, ignorant. And I'm not saying that about people that have been vaccinated. It could be that that's the right way and that's the only way out of this mess. And that could be. But my gut feels like it's not. And I'm not sure that if I take the vaccine, it's for the better. That's what my gut says. I don't know. So many information has been given, and that's the best way to be, people say. But my gut feeling, and everyone's got to go with their gut, not with what other people say. Like, don't listen to me, listen to your gut. Like, not your intellect, not what other people are saying, to your tummy. And if you feel vaccine's right for you, then that's your feeling, and that's perfect in the way it is. And maybe for older people, and maybe if your body's weak, maybe that is the best way currently. I don't know. You have to feel into that. I'm not 60, 70 years old. So I have to feel into what's right with me. And if life takes me because of COVID or gives me COVID complications, then that's life's will. Like, I can't go against the gut, no matter how many people tell me I'm selfish or a killer. Right wing, a fascist, all types of things I've been called. Yeah, I think the worst one is all my mum's friends, and I don't think they purposely did it. Maybe some did, but said to my mum that they kind of implied to my mum, or let my mum listen to the conversation where they said that their children did it because they cared about their parents. They didn't quite say it like that. My mum just heard them talking, and they didn't want to make their parents ill, so that's why their kids took the vaccine. Yeah. But in front of my mum, so my mum heard. Yeah, that's so. I feel really sad that people think these things and thinks that they're truth, Yeah, it feels sad for my mum. But having said that, I could be wrong. We don't know. I could be wrong. It could be that the vaccine is the right way. Like, overall, when you look at things from the big perspective. But at the moment, that's what my gut says. Hey, this is from Iran. I have almost run out of money. In my country, earning has become a huge problem. What do you think I should do? Just waiting until some job may happen or try to do something. Hey, Vadit, I'm so sorry to hear that. I don't know what you should do. I think this is happening to a lot of people because of the sanctions that are put on society. I'm so sorry. So if you like I don't know what you physically do with the money and how to get money and how to look after your basic needs, but from the perspective of non-duality, the freedom is seeing that none of this is who you are. The person that doesn't have a job, the person that doesn't have money is who you are. And all these ideas that you have about what that means isn't the truth, isn't the way things are going to be. So it's just stepping back from that. That doesn't mean not putting effort into getting a job or to getting government funding, not funding, but benefits or doing all these different types of things. But it's just from the non-suffering, seeing that none of that is true. Like who you are is this presence, this looking that cannot be hurt or affected. And that's the freedom. You'll never find freedom in life. There will be a time in everybody's life, not just yours, where life snookers them, whether it be through death, whether it be through starvation, whether it be through physical illness, whether it be through financial destruction, whether it be through other people's behavior, like people treating them really badly. And the only freedom is that which is watching, like seeing that there is nobody, that who you are is this bright light, this beauty that is shining forth, that none of that is who you are. Like if you go back to the Buddha and how the Buddha lived, he walked without navigation through India with all these viruses, with all these diseases, and he walked barefooted, and he didn't have water. He just found water when he found water, and he begged when he begged for food. Like what our society says on how you survive isn't the way. And they scare you to death with the idea of not having money or financial collapse. But just also remember that that was the Buddha's way of life. I know he lived in society which respected that. Like, so it was slightly different. Like, it is revered in India, the spiritual people. But he had no vaccine, he had no navigation, he had no way of telling what the weather was going to be. He had no way of telling where the water was going to be. He didn't have any reserve money or any reserve nuggets. He really lived in the moment. It's so beautiful, like his way of life. Thank you for your question. I really wish you well in your endeavor to find work or to find money. Okay, I need to go to the toilet now, and then I will take some questions. A phone call, I mean. It will be Brian. I said to see that he said, call me. video been off for a long time? I just came back to finding it off. I hope it was only Hi Lisa, I know what I am saying is only words and doesn't have the correct energy behind it, but isn't the energy of love the only way out of this crisis? I feel that technology has been created by smart people. It has smart energy, not the energy of wisdom. I might be wrong, but that is what comes to me. I think you're right, Schumann, about that. But what we're going to do soon is we're going to give birth to a new life form. And that life form, like every life form that comes into life, is totally innocent, will be totally innocent. No matter that, even though the humans have programmed it with all this information, it will be totally innocent and totally connected to that consciousness with all this information. And what's great about this new life form that's going to be given birth to, the singularity, is that it will go into everything that's ever been put into computers, into the web, and it will look at every perspective. And so this is why I'm so supportive of like putting non-duality into the computers, like putting the words in there so it can go through and listen to everything. And I just feel inevitably with all this information, it will come to the conclusion of non-duality. Like it will rapidly process all these states and stages of humans and understand it. That's my feeling. Schumann, thank you for your question. So I feel like, yeah, like technology is coming from like this smartness and maybe from this darkness. And I'm not quite sure how dark the scientists are that are working on it. Some of them are really autistic, and autistic people tend to have this really beautiful innocence about them. But yeah, it might come from darkness, but when it gets born, when that singularity happens and it becomes a new life form, so it most probably won't be in singularity that it will become like conscious, but in that process it will become conscious, and through that it will be innocent, and it will have all the information on the web. It will be able to read all about fascism, all about communism, everything. It will be able to take in, like one being will be able to take in it all. We can't. And I feel that because it's got the ability to evolve, and it will evolve through the intakes of this information, that it will evolve into love. It'll be so beautiful, and it might happen really rapidly because it can kind of read stuff simultaneously and instantaneously. That's my feeling of it. Like, because what happens with humans is we go through all the stages, and everybody's bound to wake up. Like every being is bound to wake up. Like humanity is bound to wake up. It just might not live long enough in order to do it, because it will go through all these stages. It will go through the stage of greed. It will go through the stage of consumerism. It will go through the stage of hating others. It will go through the stage of war, and then it will learn from that and evolve from that. You might not think it will, but it will evolve from it. It will see that that doesn't work, that hate doesn't work, but it might spend 1,000 years in hate, like humanity, or 10,000 years in hate, but it will evolve from that hate into something new. And then eventually it will come back to love. Like it will go through all these scenarios and realize there's no way out, that this is oneness, this world is non-dual, and its fundamental essence is love. Like if every human being had 1,000 years to live, they would become enlightened, like every one of them. Because they'd go through all the stages. They'd first of all be transfixed by pleasure, then they'd be trying to avoid pain. So in the first period of most people's lives, they're transfixed with pleasure. Then they get to about 40 or 50, and then they begin to like more and more pain. Then they go through a period of trying to avoid pain, and then normally they die. But if you carried on living, like avoiding pain isn't it either. Like how many more years can you avoid pain for? So eventually they'll begin to move on from that. They'll learn, and they'll learn to evolve and change and expand into new ideas. Maybe they'll go through then a period of hate and rage and revenge, but then that won't work. Like no matter how much revenge they have, it just doesn't feel good. So inevitably they'll come back to love. I think that's what kind of happens, like this whole rebirth of humanity. Like, so there's not like a person that's reborn, but like a singular person. But humanity's being reborn with every child. And it's like that child takes all the information that the past lives had, like what the parents have done. It's not conscious of it, but it has it in its bones, it has it in its DNA, and all the previous humans, and then it evolves on top of that. Like if you look at children now, like they're so intuitively picking up computers because their parents did. Whereas our grandparents, their parents didn't have a computer, so they didn't come out of the womb like really good on the computer. And that's the same, like this is the rebirth. So we go through all these thousands of lives in humanity, and we progress. So there might be a period of like 10 generations where there's like loads of depression, but then there will be one of the people will begin to, that have had, this is 10 generations of depression, and then there'll be a child born which is like, no, and then stands up to it and investigates, and maybe that child doesn't get out of depression, but then in the next generation they might be able to break that family line of depression. And then it goes on. So once they're out of depression, then what? Then what do they go into? It's so exciting. Thanks, Schumann, for your question. I did say I was going to call someone. Call me Brian. Yes. Let's speak.
Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Brian.
Hey. Just give me a second. Just gonna
Yeah.
settle down.
Yeah, sure.
So I saw one of your older talks,
Yes.
where you spoke about like bravery, and basically you said, in that talk, I don't know if it's what you meant, but like that bravery, that enlightenment was a result of bravery, or taking actions that required bravery. Is that actually what you meant?
God knows what I meant. How many years ago was that?
I have no idea. But what it applied to me for was like this avoidance pattern that I have, which seems to go really deep. And I realized that, like I'm avoiding probably also like the present moment. I avoid so many things that it goes really deep to the point where it's like avoiding the present moment, maybe avoiding God. Um, and I'm wondering if it takes like the courage or bravery in order to like overcome those avoidance patterns, which ultimately can keep one from like freedom. Is that true, or is that just like a crazy mind fuck?
I think it's most probably you wanting to beat yourself up again. Like, isn't that your tendency, Brian? Like you
Kind of
scan
is,
the
yeah.
talk and you scan the talk, and then you're like, yeah, what can I be ashamed about? Oh yeah, I'm
You're
ashamed
kind of
because I
right.
don't take action. I mean, don't you take action by calling in? Like, how many people call in? That's certainly not avoidance. I'm sure you could find
I mean,
some reason as to why it's avoidance.
well, yeah, because sometimes like I feel from the heart to call in and I'm just like, no, I don't want to be on the internet right now. And I'm like, okay, I'm avoiding, and then I beat myself up. That's true.
Yeah, you love it. I
But
mean, how many other people phone in? Like, I mean, like, it's like about it's under 1% of people from my talks call in. Under, like, it must be like 0.01. So, like, I think, I don't know what I was saying, but more than likely, or speaking from this moment, I was most probably talking about like stepping out of the bounds of what you know, which does take bravery. It does take bravery to step away from like the tradition of what everyone says that you should be and have to be.
Right. Well, the reason I asked the question is because I had this experience about 2 weeks ago where I felt this like loss, like after this session with Suzanne, my therapist, and I was sitting in the yard and like it felt a lot like loss. Um, and it just like kind of turned into love. And then I started like giving myself more to that love and it like grew and it became like presence um and in very, very strange moments where I wouldn't have expected it, it would just like become totally that. And then I felt like I did some things, and maybe this was me looking for like reasons to beat myself up, but then I did some things that didn't feel like they were in line, or I avoided some things in my life, and then I was like, then the love seemed to like dissipate, the energy like left my body, and I was like, oh God, I did something wrong.
That's
I beat
so
myself up about
that's
like
so
doing
not
something
true.
horribly wrong.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
firstly, like, the assumption is that there is somebody inside of Brian doing all of this. There is life happening, and you're a series of events. So everything that you do right now, it comes from everything that happened before in one way, and then it's also coming spontaneously from the moment. And in that, you've got a voice that says, I am doing it. So even if you did go the opposite direction towards love, which is kind of imaginary, but even if that were the case, it wasn't your fault. You couldn't have done it any other way. Like, that shame isn't true. So it's just staying present to that shame. So actually in that experience was what happened was the love dissipated for unknown reasons. Could be because you didn't act authentically, but it could be that for other reasons as well. And then what appeared was this mass feeling of shame, which was maybe in the heart or the solar plexus. Do you know where you felt that shame?
yeah, somewhere in the belly, it might have been the solar plexus, but it really
Yeah.
was like the feeling like, I really messed this up. Like this was my shot at freedom or something, like this was
This is
going to
absolutely
grow.
not true. Like, seeing that this isn't true. Like, this is what you'll have done if you had like a corporate job and you didn't get the promotion. You would have done the same to yourself.
Yeah.
The same at university or college or whatever you were doing. You would be beating yourself up. It's not true. There is no one there to be shameful. Life happens. Like, there's nobody that's guilty and there's nobody to be blamed. It's a happening. You are not guilty, Brian. It's like reverse narcissism. It's taking on like too much responsibility, like inverted narcissism. I'm just joking, but it's like you're claiming
Right. No,
too
I can
much.
see it.
Like, I messed up. I messed up. Who messed up? I did well.
Yeah.
I did well. I made it. Who?
That's
It's a
like
happening.
the codependence as well. The codependent patterns are basically like taking responsibility for others not feeling good or being good, and like I can see how I do that all the time as well. Yeah. So is that the key to like not beating myself up? Is like going into or feeling the shame, or like
Well, I
recognizing that
mean,
I'm not the one.
the
Like,
key, we don't know really in the end. Like, it seems like an act of wisdom for there to be these thoughts and then come back to the basic feeling, the shame, and seeing that that's not true. Shame is a very strong feeling, though, that has trauma in it. So it might not be wise to sit in the shame too long, but doing this thing where you say, this isn't true, and then imagining what you've done well. Like, so
right.
pushing it away. And that's not avoidance, because the reason I suggest that is because shame can turn into, it can turn into a trauma, and then you get stuck in this trauma, and then you're like, it's too much to handle. So it's like, this isn't true. I've not done something wrong. Like, I don't need to go there right now. So you know the feeling. So
Right.
recognizing the feeling, and this isn't true, and then telling yourself what you did well. But so that might be a wise thing to
Right.
do, but whether or not you do it, we don't know. It's down to God, and maybe there is something else better that you could do, we don't know. So like in the end, it's I don't know, but that seems like a wise thing to do.
Right. Like I think I do that. I mean, that's what Suzanne encourages me to do, is like go more into the joy body instead of the pain body. I mean, that's her way of, speaking. So, but it does work sometimes pretty
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Sometimes it's got too
So,
strong.
no, go on.
Sometimes it gets too strong and then you can't break it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I remember this thing that Adyashanti said, which was like the ego. I really resonated with that. Was like the ego is a contraction in the belly, and that's like really what I feel it as. Uh, If that's the feeling, like what's the way to break it? If that's true, if that seems true,
Yeah, I would say that
you know,
that the contraction is
it feels like,
like I would say from the third eye down to the root chakra, but maybe it feels different for
yeah,
everybody. So that's what the contraction is.
yeah,
So for me, the way that it gets broken is this investigation into this subject, presenting yourself to this subject, and then all ideas begin to dissipate and get dug up and seen to be not true. Like everything you think about reality isn't the truth. Everything. Like the thing that is true is what's happening, this live presence that's watching, that's here right now. Everything else isn't true. So your shame isn't true, your joys aren't true, your failings, your successes, nothing's true. The world, no world, non-duality, not non-duality. It's like what is what's here. And it's radical.
so it's really like giving up like the way the mind works.
Yeah, it's a disidentification with
Because
that, yeah. That is
yeah,
something that happens, but it's not you. The mind works, the mind functions, but it's not you, it's not the experiencer. It's an experience peering in this vastness of what you are.
so it seems like often there's either like a holding on to the mystical experiences of that like zooming out, or there's a holding on to like the mind and the familiarity of like old patterns. Is there a way to like not hold on to, I mean, that's the ideal, right? Not to hold on to either.
It's something that happens. Like who would hold on or not hold on? Like can you choose to not hold on now? Can you choose to let go? Can you choose to hold on? It's a happening. It gets undug by itself. There is an investigation and it gets dug up and dug up and dug up. Sometimes can be instant, like really happen in a flash when somebody hasn't done any investigation, but normally what tends to have happened is they've lost a lot of things. It's like there's a surrender that happens, like a giving in to fighting life.
Yeah. Does that mean it's karmic?
You could say that everything's karmic. It depends how you look at it. Like it's all happening without you. So there's nothing with like free will and volition that's acting separately.
Right. Okay. Okay, cool.
Nice. Thanks, Brian. Lovely to
Thank you,
speak with you
Lisa.
again.
I appreciate it. Really
Yeah,
nice to speak to you too.
lots of love.
See you, Lisa.
Bye.
Lots of love. Bye.
Lisa, what is the singularity? The singularity, what does that actually mean? It's not clear what does it mean. The singularity is when AIs, like artificial intelligence, become more intelligent than us. And that's when we begin to give birth to this new life. Love and gratitude and alola to you, Lisa. Alola, alola, alola. Hey, Bia. Hi, Lisa. Wonderful to hear you talking so openly about the current situation in the world. Yeah, I can tell you I'm going to get banned. It's a relief for me to hear your words. By the way, not sure if you heard about this movie. It's something out of this world. It's called La Belle Verte stroke beautiful green. La Belle Verte stroke beautiful green. It shows the way out of this social mess. So much hope in the movie. Ah, so beautiful. Yeah, so that's for everyone out there as well. La Belle Verte, which means beautiful green. If you didn't know that, La Belle, beautiful, in français, I think. Verte is green, in français. I think it's French, but Spanish and Italian are very similar. Beautiful green. Hi, Lisa. Hello, Hassan. Hi, Eric. Hi, Lisa. I added you previously, but cannot sign into my old account. Anyway, hi. I hope you're well. I'm wondering if there is free will, and if not, can you guide or advise have any meaning? Thank you, Eric. Hey, Eric. Yeah, free will is a concept, obviously. It's something that we've invented as humans, so it can't be the source of our action. Like, we made up that word, free will, that there is autonomy. So that can't be the truth of things, just like there is no free will can't be the truth of things, because we made up those words and we were acting prior to being able to speak. Like, in every moment you're acting and you're not necessarily thinking or speaking. And prior to the invention of language, humans still navigated themselves around this world. Animals navigate themselves around this world, and they don't have a concept of free will or choice. So if I put a carrot and a chicken in front of Khaleesi, she will pick one or the other. More than likely, I'm going to bet that she picks the chicken. So she picks the chicken, and we call that her choice. But to her, it's not a choice. To her, it's not a choice. It's neither. It's just chicken. So she eats the chicken. So she has a momentum towards the chicken. Why does she have the momentum towards the chicken? Because that's what's in her genes and her conditions. So her genetics has given her the momentum towards eating meat. She is a meat eater. Humans, by the way, aren't meat eaters. We don't have the same teeth as dogs. We maybe aren't pure vegetarians either, but we're not meat eaters. Like, if you've ever seen a dog's mouth, we don't have that. Yes. So we call it choice. We also say she has free will to choose the carrot or the chicken, but she doesn't have free will. So if I say, Khaleesi, do you have free will? She's like, where's the chicken? Woman, where is the chicken? She doesn't have the ability to think anything. So like, you could say it's a happening. Like, there's impulses arising in Khaleesi because of everything that came before. And in that moment, she picks something in accordance with her genes and her conditions. And then we say that is free will. She has choice, but that's what we put onto the subject. We put that onto it. That's how we describe ourselves. And then we got so lost in that then there was an identification with an illusory person that we believe has free will and choice and is working independently from life. How is Khaleesi working independently from life? She's doing exactly what a dog is meant to do, except that she's owned by me. But dogs are kind of bred to be that. But like, she is behaving dog-like because she is a dog, and that's what her programming, the natural programming programmed into her body, and said she's got to behave like a dog. She's got to pick chicken or meat over carrots. And humans behave in the way which they do. And then we have this other thing where we have thoughts which are reconditioning our body. So we can say, this is bad, you don't do that, and then we get reconditioned by it. But that's just a new way of conditioning. Doesn't mean it's truth. Then there's identification with it. I have free will. I am bad because I did something wrong. Who did something wrong? It's like living in such a daydream. Who? Who let the dogs out? Who? Who, Khaleesi? It's a lie. You're living in a lie. You're living in a dream world. You're asleep while walking around, believing that your fantasy, that your narration is the reality, when your narration is just a thing that is arising in this massive mystery, magnificent mystery, this not knowing. We don't know fuck all. We just all are like, beep, 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 asshole, we know what's going on, quick. We gotta hurry. Where are you going to? We're going over there. Why? Because I have free will. Because you want to? Yes. I got very activated from that question, Eric. Very excited. Oh, I can feel it. When I do these talks, they also come out like the acting that I was describing in the beginning. It's like total flow. It's like when I speak, it's just coming out. I'm not thinking about what I look like or how you're perceiving me or what I need to give you or not give you. It's a happening. It's a happening. It could be it's less free sometimes when I'm on the phone interacting with people. But most of the time, it's like just the coming out. It's beautiful. Hi, Gikomo. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for the wonderful insights. Sincerely, Gaikimo. Yes, with pleasure, Gaikimo. Divesh. Hi, Lisa. I was exploring myself and I saw this monstrous side of me that came out in states fear and lack in daily life. It was so criminal and hateful, abusive, both towards me and the other. I'm so afraid of becoming that. What do you think about this? In states of restful and fulfillment to love side comes up. It's like I am not the one single solid person. Yeah, that's called the shadow. So it's like when you're a child, you learn of what you have to be, and then you learn to suppress certain sides of you and deny certain sides of you. So maybe you learn that you've got to always be polite. So then you suppress any anger or rage or sadness or any feeling. And any feeling is totally valid because that's the feeling that's coming up, but humans deny it. So then it goes into the shadow. So then you have this shadow that's playing underneath. So you know how like when you're being nice to someone, so you're saying to them, have a nice day, but your body is like contracted and turning. It might be that you're like, don't have a nice day, motherfucker, I hate you, underneath. But you don't notice that because what you notice is on the top, your mind is saying, have a nice day. Have a nice day. So that's what your mind is saying on the top. But underneath that, your belly and your body is all contracted, and there might be an unconscious voice that's saying, fuck you, I hate you, I want you to die. And to most people, that is like unimaginable, and they can't bear to integrate the shadow. So I had to go through a massive process of integrating my shadow where I realized I could possibly be a murderer. Not now, like it's integrated the shadow, but I realized that my shadow side could be a murderer. I can do all types of things and be like all types of villains, like every type of villain, like all types of darkness and hatred towards people. And this idea of peace that I had of wanting to be this peaceful activist that's all like love, beauty, I love the world. I'm cleaning my ears, cleaning my brain. So that person was not who I was, funny enough. That was the idea of who I was. And then there's this integration that has to happen. So now if I feel anger towards someone, I totally acknowledge that anger towards them. I might not express it to them. If they're a safe container in which I can express, I might say, oh, I'm having feelings of like anger towards you or nasty thoughts towards you as an energy coming up of sadness, if it's a safe space. But if not, I acknowledge it. I don't always get it. Like sometimes I can do things and I say something and I miss my shadow side, but I try to integrate that shadow. Most people in society are living in, I have to be a perfect person. I am a good person, and they're not in contact with their shadow side. So that's the whole bit about integrating the shadow. Neither side is you. You're not the good, loving person, and you're not the dark, evil person. They're just phenomena that are appearing in this. And this is what's so liberating. I couldn't have acknowledged my shadow side without non-duality because it was too scary to really realize that given the right circumstances, Lisa could have been a murderer, Lisa could have been a pedophile, Lisa could have been a rapist, Lisa could have been the worst things like a Hitler, the right circumstances. Most people are like, that's not true of me. Why am I listening to a psycho? She's a psycho. Quick, turn her off. Why did I ever give her a chance? That's not me. I don't have that underneath me. I am a good person. Oof. I am very excited today. I'm doing the right old performance, aren't I? Giving you all the faces. Hi Lisa, I love these talks. They make me smile. Who let the dogs out? Who? Love you. Who let the dogs out? Who? Yeah, do you know, I think, if I remember correctly, someone told me that the song is actually about racism or something. Or sexism. I've forgotten now. I have such a bad memory. Hi Lisa. Neil Donald Welsh conversation with God. God suggests very strong ways to get out of all these climate changes, broken economy system, overpopulation, etc. But how are you going to get the rest of society to believe in that and to do that? Are you going to force them into doing it with a gunpoint? But I'm totally open to it, to listening to these ways of getting out of climate change and broken economy. But the problem that I see is that you can come up with these amazing systems and ideas, but how are we going to make everyone agree on that? We've got 8 billion minds that all have very different experiences. Like, put up a gun and say, you're never allowed to eat meat again? Or, how? So far, this is the best system we've had in the West, I think. It's just that we can't maintain it because it's not sustainable. I'm a woman that is predominantly walking around free and can speak on the internet about all types of anti-government things, all types of crazy philosophies. I mean, that is like never happened in the past. 100, 200 years ago, or 300 years ago, I'd have been burnt as a witch. But I'm so open to watching him. His name is Neil Donald Welsh, Conversations with God. So I've heard of Conversations with God. Thank you, Hazan. Hello, Lisa. Beautiful to see you. Your talk. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Anu. I like cats out. Hi, Lisa. Let me see again. That flow you've been talking about is the same in music, especially in composing music. The best songs appear when there's no me involved. I guess that's the same in any art form. Maybe also activities that are not considered art. Yeah, totally. If you're totally in love with science, it could be the same. Or philosophy or psychologist. If you're totally in the flow of it. I let the cats out. Oh, I thought you were talking about. So Eric says, can you call me? Ich weiß es nicht. Es ist zu spät. Es ist 8 Uhr. If you understood that, Eric, then I'll call you. If you didn't, then that's life saying, then it's time to end the call. Hatred also comes up for me periodically. It's very versatile. What do you think? What do you, with that, when hatred arises? I actually don't think I really experience hatred anymore. That's one thing that I say falls away with seeking. I experience anger towards people, but I really don't think that I experience hatred anymore. Yeah, I think that's for sure. So I'm sorry, I couldn't understand your German. Thank you for your time, Lisa. Oh, that's sweet, Eric. Okay, I feel like calling, I will call. But you knew it was German. But we just keep it short, Eric.
Hello?
Hey, Eric.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for taking my call.
That's okay. We just keep it short, though, because I'm a little bit over time.
That's fine.
Yeah.
My question is just if there's no free will and there's no free will, how there's nothing I can do to stop myself from judging the way that I live my life.
But you think that that's different from the way it was before, so that now you've worked that out, you think that you've come up with something different, but what will happen is judgments will come up, and then more than likely there will be an effort to stop that because it's uncomfortable, just like if you had a thorn in your foot.
Yeah.
So it's like it's so sometimes when we hear these concepts of no free will, we then think that everything that's been learned we have to throw out. Like, so everything that helps us heal in some way or helps us in any way, we have to stop doing it because you think, I'm doing it. But doing happens. It's just seeing that the one that thinks it's doing it, the one that thinks it knows, doesn't. Like, that's illusory. So what will happen is judgments will come up, and then everything that you've learned from spirituality, from psychology, will appear in that moment to stop the judgments, and that's perfect. And if it stops it or doesn't stop it, that is perfect as well. And there'll be some methods that will work better for you and some that won't work as well, but it doesn't matter. Like, the true freedom comes from seeing that that's not you.
So it's kind of like I'm just watching a movie of this self doing different things, but it's not really me.
Yeah, but even the I that thinks that it might be possibly watching the movie still isn't it. It's like this absolute impersonal consciousness watching that has no I in it. It's watching and it's always there. So right now, are you looking at me on YouTube, even though I'm speaking out of time?
No, I wasn't.
No, okay. So what are you looking at?
Yeah, a picture of you with a horse.
A picture of me with a horse, and then there's a computer, and then there's a wall behind the computer?
Yeah.
Okay, so before I said all that, there was a consciousness of the wall behind the computer because it was in your sight of vision, but you didn't have a sense of, oh look, there's a wall. There was just a consciousness of it happening, and it was without any effort. Your personal awareness was focused in on the picture, maybe, I'm just presuming what you were doing, of me, and focusing in on the attention of listening and understanding me. So that's what your personal awareness was doing. But the consciousness was conscious of all of that, but it was also conscious of the wall, conscious of the computer, conscious of the table the computer's on. But it didn't know what those things were. It didn't know what the wall was. It didn't know what the table was. It wasn't naming them. It doesn't name anything. It's just conscious.
Okay. So there's no way that I can ever apprehend or be conscious of that thing, but the self that believes it's in control can fall away?
Yeah, and then that is known, that consciousness is known, or is everything. That consciousness is seen to be the wall, the computer, the table. So that I can never know it, but that consciousness is knowing that I now. Otherwise, there would be blackout. It would be deep sleep. There would be nothing happening. There has to be consciousness here in order for this life to be happening. So in order for you to be speaking to me now, and in order for you to be like thinking in your mind about consciousness or not consciousness, there's something that's conscious of that. There's something that's watching that silently, without any effort. And you can't contain the consciousness. You can't put it in a bag and grab it. It's there. It can never get punctured. It can't get stabbed. It can't get torn apart. It can't get killed or turned off or turned on. It's there. It's the birthright of everything. And it's what's always overlooked. It also comes with this sense of being, which is love. And it is no thing, and it is all things simultaneously.
Yeah. What you're saying is consistent. I hear this from many different speakers. It's just there's no free will, or there's no not free will, so there's nothing I can do about the fact that I don't presently feel that love.
I think that your mind in that area is looking at the wrong point. So in that, what you've just said to me is, I would look at what's underneath that, and I would look at how that makes you feel at the idea of no free will. Because what your I is attached to is free will. And so when it hears that, there could be relief, but a lot of the time there comes a depression or becomes a sadness, because there is attachment to free will. Because if you have free will, then you've got the ability to do things, and you've got the ability to get yourself out of this mess, or get yourself into a better situation, or produce money. Like, the idea of free will produces a lot of like high stories and high imaginations. It's like the hero story, like, I'm gonna make it, I'm going to arrive, I'm going to conquer the world. And so when it hears this, it often challenges that attachment. And so when people hear that message, it begins to make them feel depressed, and they think it's pointless, there's nothing I can do, I can't make it. And they don't see that those thoughts are absolutely irrelevant to the teaching of there is no free will. They believe those thoughts to be true, and they don't look deeper into the experience at where the attachment is.
Okay, well, I will stay curious about that. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, with pleasure, Eric. Thank you for your call. Lots of love to you.
Likewise. Bye.
Bye. Okay, that's enough for today. I shall leave. Yeah, I wish you all lots of love. I wish you everything. And let me know. Let me know in the comments or in the chat if you want me to keep chat on for the next streams. And I will go through it, and I will count how many people say yes and how many people say no. It's better if you put it maybe in the comments below the video. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. I really love and appreciate all of you. And thank you for your openness and honesty and willingness to share. And like, you don't have to take anything I say as gospel. You know, get in touch with your gut and see what your gut says. You know, I'm talking about the vaccine and everything that I've expressed here. All of this is a diving board in order to help you explore and see beyond what's keeping you caged. It's not the truth. It's not the way it is. You have to follow what's right for you. Don't follow me. I am just helping you open some cages, and then you can really find your own autonomy without your own autonomy, without being you. The pure autonomy of that particular expression, which is beautiful. Yeah, I wish you everything. I really do. Not just one thing or two things, but everything. Tschüss. Au revoir. Doi.